back and recollect on this day, we'll remember what we did on Monday, the 14th of April in 2025.
It's always good. Always good to put the date at the top of the paper.
That's right. Name and date, top of the paper. Don't forget to do that. Very important.
So I noticed you've called this episode "Best Podcast Ever."
Because it's the best podcast ever.
Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and
So a bold claim, maybe a
maybe
joke,
a little bit
or
of a bold claim,
or
sure.
a joke or a dare, maybe. But here's the thing, right? What if it's not about being the best to everyone, just the best to someone right now? Maybe the best podcast isn't the one with headlines or hype, but the one that meets you on a grey day, says something that sticks, makes you laugh, or helps you feel a bit less alone in the world.
Yeah,
So no,
exactly.
so there it is. No promises, just two voices, some honest thoughts, and a quiet hope that for the next little while, this might be the best podcast you've ever heard. So welcome everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I think I need to also make clear here is that we are not a crypto show. So
we
I
really need
think
to shake that off, don't we?
I made, yeah,
That just sticks.
not a crypto show. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to get rid of the fact that I've said we're the best podcast ever in order to make room. There we go. Oops.
Well,
Okay.
listen,
Well, we
it was
were
a
the
brief.
best podcast ever.
We were.
We were the best podcast ever. Now we are simply just not a crypto show. But that works.
Really.
That works. We need people to know we are not a crypto show. Um and you know what? It looks like very early on in the show we're going to have a little bit of audience interaction here since we're doing this like talk radio from the 90s. We haven't even discussed anything yet, and we already have someone who wants to share the space with us.
Beautiful.
So we are going to call up our good friend Laser from the crypto world. He actually is a friend of mine from the crypto world. But Laser, this is not a crypto show, just so you know. What's up, Laser?
Oh man, I'm tuning in for the Owen and Joe show, so
That's
I'm here
right.
listening. I'm listening. This is where my Monday gets even better. So hey, I'm here. I'm sharing it. I'm tagging. I'm all ears.
Well, that is great. I appreciate you doing that. We talk about everything that there is to talk about here, basically, other than crypto. And then, of course, there's some time for audience participation here and there. We like to operate kind of like a old talk radio show. I think this is going to be the new talk radio. And so we record our podcast in here so we can be in front of a live audience and then upload to all the various platforms, YouTube and Facebook and all that other stuff. So most people will be hearing us on YouTube, I'd imagine. So, but there is, for those of you who are listening on YouTube, you can always come in to X, formerly known as Twitter, and come sit in as we record live. And if you want to engage with your favorite host, then you can do so. So we encourage that. You just got to come on in, listen, and raise your hand when we're doing questions or comments from the live audience.
And you have to pick your favorite host too. You have
Oh
to
yeah,
pick if it's Owen or
yes,
Joe.
yes. We need to
And
know
your
which
favorite
one. Yeah.
lurker. You need to pick your favorite lurker. I'm taking. I think that I could win that. I'm not sure
Oh,
yet.
oh, I think you definitely will win that title.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. I was worried.
Mm, what time do you have over there, Owen? You are at
5. 5 in the afternoon.
10
Uh,
past 5 in the afternoon. We
yeah,
are 10 minutes past 9 a.m. here in beautiful, not so sunny California right now.
not so
It,
sunny.
yeah, we're getting one of our, one of the 5 days that we have where it isn't,
What?
completely like
We
sunny,
call
not
it
a cloud
we
in the
call it
sky.
June gloom, even though it's not quite June yet. That's like the term that people refer to it as.
Wow, that's
Yes.
impressive. Every time I drive along the road in England, I always see all the green, the verdant green beautifulness of it all. And I remember a friend of mine from Los Angeles, funnily enough, who lived in San Dimas, and
Oh my
she would
God, that's the
always.
city next to where I live.
Is it really
Yeah, San
wonderful?
Dimas. So San Dimas is actually across the street from my house. I live in a city
No.
called Laverne. Yeah, and then right next to it is San Dimas. How
Oh,
funny is that?
that's great. Yeah. I mean, well, she would always tell me how pictures of England were. She never. It was blew her mind that anywhere could be so green.
Right,
Because
right.
of course, everything over your way is so sort of, so dried out in the sun.
Oh yeah,
And it sticks with me to this day. I was driving along thinking, yeah, I would love, especially now where I'm spending a lot of time talking to a Los Angelian and
yeah,
thinking
right.
about how great it is. I almost wanted to start taking photos and just being like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, it really is. I always say, we have basically one season, and that is summer, and it's always summer. It does, for me though. And look, here's the thing: people pay a lot of money for this good weather. I understand
Yeah,
that,
yeah. Hmm.
totally get it, but it annoys. It's annoying when you want like. Christmas, you don't want it to be warm on Christmas. You want it to be cold so you can start a fire and
Yes.
have like that cozy feeling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very
Um,
much so.
and we don't really get to do that. So that's one thing that's actually rather annoying. Um,
Hmm.
you
Well, it
know,
gets annoying here being so damn grey and gloomy all the time.
yeah,
Honestly, we
yeah,
can get months and months of bloody nothing but drizzle. And it's do you know what that bugs me though? Is the wind. It's the wind. I hate wind. I don't mind rain, if I'm honest with you, if it wasn't windy.
yeah,
But even
yeah.
if you have a summer's day here, really lovely blue sky, and everything seems nice, and the birds are tweeting, you can step outside and it's blowing 20 miles an hour, and you're just like, oh, you bastard. I really
Really
don't enjoy that. Yeah, I hate it. It's always so fucking windy. I mean, it comes and goes, but the first thing I look at in the weather forecast now isn't so much whether it's raining or sunny. I look at the wind because that's going to
interesting.
determine whether I'm going out or
Interesting.
not. Because I hate it.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. So, I'm sure you with the rest of the world heard about the fires we had here in LA. And
Oh yeah.
it was very just devastating fires. It was because of the wind, the wind,
Mm.
and it was wind like I have never experienced. I mean, we have this thing here we call them the Santa Ana winds, and they happen. You can set your watch to them. It's just like a normal part of life here. But the winds we had on that particular occasion was very abnormal. That we had winds that were like hurricane force. It got up to 100 miles per hour. The
Wow.
front door to my house flew open. Okay.
Oh, dude, no
It
way.
blew, yeah, it literally blew my doors open. And yeah,
Okay.
so Andrea called, I was leaving the gym, and Andrea calls me all frantic, like, Joseph, when are you getting home? When are you going to be home, Joseph? Where are you? I'm like, babe, what's up? What's wrong? And the front doors, they flew open. It's because we have like two doors, like a double door.
Oh wow, yeah.
And yeah,
My
it
God.
yeah, it blew both open. So I had to, I rush home, and basically I just kind of like rigged up like a little cleat to kind of like, just kind of barricade
Dude,
the
that's crazy.
the side of the door that is supposed to always stay closed. And
Why? I mean, like, what happened to the why did the lock?
the
Do you
well,
not
the
have bolts
wind.
or whatever? Or
So the wind was so strong. What
yeah.
happened was, like when you have a double door like that, you'll normally have a lock on one of the doors that goes into the door jamb and then
Oh, I
into the
see. You
threshold,
mean
right?
double door as in like double wide, as in it
Yeah.
opens and closes together in the middle. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yes, in the middle.
Oh,
So
bloody hell. You
so the wind
Americans.
the wind blew so much that it like overcame
Yeah.
that lock,
Yeah, no doubt.
and
No doubt.
then once that opens, both will open up. And so
Gotcha.
yeah, it just it just blew right in,
Wow.
and
When
then
was
of
this?
course,
How long ago? Was this?
a couple months ago,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
a
Oh,
few months
sure.
ago, and
Yes. Yes.
the fires that were going on as a result of all this, there's like parts of Malibu that are just gone now. You know,
Oh God!
there's
Wow.
a city called Pacific Palisades. That city's
I know it.
gone. Yeah, it's
You
gone.
really?
It's gone.
You're
Yep, gone.
joking.
All kinds of houses and stuff that I built, just it's all gone.
Oh my God.
Completely gone. And then there was another fire that was close to Pasadena, a little
Hmm.
north of Pasadena, burnt a city up there called Altadena. Like the same thing. It's like 90% gone. And
What?
my brother's house, he lit, his house in Topanga Canyon. They saved his house, which by the grace of God, they saved his house. I mean, but at the same time, like you can't even get there now. There's like, kinds of like FEMA, National Guard that are still up there. There's still so much to clean up. So like you have to have a pass to even like go up in there. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, there's going to be years and years and years of rebuilding, because it's just so, it's all just destroyed, just completely wiped out. It looks, what it looks like to me is like, just like when you see the pictures from Ukraine right now, where you just see these
Hmm.
like cities that have just been completely shelled. It looks like that.
So
It
why
looks.
didn't you? So why was it so devastating? Have you not?
It was the
Presumably this
wind.
weather is
It
this.
was
Yeah,
the
but
wind.
is this completely unprecedented
So
levels of
here's the
wind then? Because
here.
we get
Yeah, the
hurricanes here,
wind.
we have shit that blows away, but it happens enough that our buildings are sort of. We wouldn't be able to survive an earthquake,
Yeah,
but
right.
we would. But we're geared up for some bloody strong winds.
So
We'll
we are
lose roof tiles and
definitely.
stuff, but
We definitely are. So in America in general, our building code comes as a result of like a few different events, like the building code that we use. Um, it's like from a fire in Chicago. It's from another fire, like, it's called the Great Chicago Fire. Then there's another fire that happened um, in New York called the
Mhm.
Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. That inspired a lot of building code laws too. And so everything is built with fire code in mind, very much so here. There are some buildings that you'd have to really really try to set them on fire. It would not be an easy thing to burn down a lot of our like commercial buildings in particular, because just the way they're built, there's just not a lot of flammable material. And then the stuff that is flammable normally has to meet like a certain, like for carpet for instance, there's a thing called a pill test, where they put this little thing that looks like a pill on like a square foot of carpet,
Okay.
and it like they set it on fire. And every kind of carpet has to pass this pill test. And it's basically to just see like, well, did the thing ignite, or was it just the pill that just burnt on the carpet and then it went out and that's it. So like even the stuff that can burn is made in a way to where it's like not flammable really. So there's a lot of effort that goes into having like a very strict um, fire code with building and safety here.
Right.
But what was different this time was the wind, and the wind was just so powerful. And again, like I said, we get powerful winds here. We get Santa Ana winds. Like it's something
But
that
this was crazy.
happens. It's
This
very
was super
normal.
big.
This was just, yeah, this was totally like never happened before type thing. And the thing is, like, we had ample warning. Like we knew like a week ahead of time that this was
Mm.
coming.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um
Oh God.
like we knew, yeah, that okay, there's gonna be crazy wind. That's
So
one
what
of
can
the
you do?
things that's very upsetting about all this, because
Mm.
you would have thought that the mayor Karen Bass, who's an actual moron, you would have thought she would have like kind of, just let's make some kind of plan,
I
like
guess
let's
so.
just have some kind of like what if.
Mm.
And but she was like in Africa, in Ghana. uh why an LA mayor needs to travel to Ghana, I don't know. That's another thing. Like, I don't, you're a mayor of a city, shouldn't you be in this anyway?
Mm.
So she was halfway around the world. Nothing was really provisioned out. So again, like the way I look at that is, we know we're going to have 100-mile-per-hour wind.
Mm.
We know there's a lot of brush up here in the foothills and stuff. Like, there's a lot of fuel, a lot of fuel for a fire to burn. So, let's maybe,
Good lord.
not hope for it, but kind of hope
So
for the
all those,
best, prepare for the worst type deal. Just
yeah.
didn't
So what
happen.
happened with like the Pacific Palisades and that? Did they all burn down then? When
I
you
mean,
say
it
they're
just burnt
gone,
down. It's gone,
right?
dude.
Oh,
It is
okay. So it's
gone.
burned down.
And here's what you've got to realize by like how strong the winds were. There's a stretch of road that comes into LA called the Grapevine. So if you're like driving from Northern California to Southern California, you get to this point where you've got to go up a bunch of mountains, and then you end up descending them too to get into the LA basin, right? Like
Hmm.
LA is basically like a big, well, it's a basin, it's a big valley, just sort of like flanked by mountains on
Right.
all the sides.
Well, quite, yeah. Right.
So when you're coming into LA County, you go up this area called the Grapevine, and the Grapevine is, it's a stretch of freeway that's very heavily traveled, for like commercial goods. So there's
Okay.
always a lot of trucks, a lot of like um, cargo trucks. On
Yes.
the day this happened, there you can probably still find it online if you went and looked for it, where you will just see miles and miles and miles of cargo trucks on their side because the wind blew
Oh
them
my
over.
God.
It is the most eerie thing I've
Mm.
ever seen. Where I'm telling you, for miles. You just miles and miles and miles, where
Wow.
all these trucks are tipped on their side from just like the wind
That's
blew
amazing.
them over and blew them off the road. So, a cargo truck, man, like think of the force of that.
That's
You know,
crazy.
that it
Yeah.
was able to
Yeah.
tip that. So,
Well, at
yeah.
least when it was on its side, it then didn't get blown further.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, at least it's
right.
even more stable, right? I mean, if you were a truck driver, what would you do? You would just got to
I
stay
mean,
in your cab, right? You would just
how
not get out.
terrifying. Yeah.
God, you
Like,
just
you're
yeah.
driving along, and you know how it is to drive when it's super windy. It feels weird anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
It pushes the car around, and
Mm. I've always
I,
wanted to be a storm chaser. I have to say, I
oh,
always
really?
loved
Okay.
that movie. Yeah, dude, I loved the idea of it as a kid. There was that. What was that movie called?
Twister. Twister.
Twister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love extreme weather. My favorite thing in the whole world is thunder and lightning. And
Mm,
we've had a few good storms in my lifetime that have really, put the fear of God in you.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've very much, I just love it. But it's a bit like a roller coaster. I'm okay as long as it's only perceived risk of death. I
Yes.
like the
Yes.
idea that there's an increased chance, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is it. We're all
You
going to die,
know,
but you're
you know
not
where
going
you
to.
need to go? You need to
Please
go
tell me.
to the Midwest, where you go like Nebraska, Colorado, um,
Okay.
also some places like in the kind of like the upper South too. Like Tennessee, Kentucky,
Mm,
Arkansas,
mm.
kind of like where like Tornado Alley is.
Okay, that's what was bringing to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, the like so in particular though, like the plains, like the states that are the plains, like again,
Ah,
like
yes. Oh, well, that
the
makes sense.
Dakotas, Wyoming, Colorado, parts of Montana. Dude, when you see a like a lightning storm out there,
Hmm.
I mean, it'll make you believe in God. It is the most
No,
beautiful thing. It is so cool. So,
dude, I
first
love
off,
that.
everything's so flat. So like you again, it depends where you're at, because Colorado also, there's like the Rockies and stuff. But when there's certain parts, where again, when you start to kind of get into like the plains, and everything's just so flat, you can see, for like forever, basically, until like the world curves.
Mhm.
Sorry, flat earthers. There is,
Yeah, there. Sadly, there
it's
it is. Yeah, let's take in that.
sadly,
Yeah,
yeah, sadly.
absolutely.
But um, you can see forever, and the sky looks so big because there's no obstructions. There's no houses, there's no buildings. Like that's why they call Montana the Big Sky State. Like that's its nickname. And you just like it looks so massive. All right. And then when you get to see one of these, and when it's dark, dude. You know, there's no lights, there's no,
God,
so you see every single star. You see, like it's so stunning. I mean,
yeah,
it is so stunning.
I'm
Anyway,
excited.
you
I'm
look
getting all
out,
excited over here.
and when you see this lightning, man, the way it,
Mm,
oh my gosh, the way it will, because you can, I don't know what it is out there. Like again, maybe it's just the fact that you have such a good visual, you know, because there's again, it's the plains, so it's all like kind of grasses and farmland, and
mm,
there's no trees to block the sky. Like you get a perfect view of this massively big sky,
dude.
and then the plains, right?
Mm,
And you see this, like the way the lightning comes in, man. You know, and you see it first, you know, and then a
Yes,
little
of
bit
course you do.
later, yeah, and then a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
later,
yeah.
you hear the, you know, you hear the thunder. um you know, just because speed of light travels faster than sound, and
Oh, sure. Yes, it
it's
is.
so it's so cool. And the way, like, the lightning just kind of veins out, you know. You'll get
Oh
some where
man.
it's like just like one kind of strikes down to the ground type deal, but you get these things where they're like, where it comes out like just like veins and like a spider web throughout the sky, and it is so beautiful. And it's also a little scary too. It's you're like, because it's loud, and you're like, oh man, what if like that lightning hit me? That's kind of linger, you know. I mean, you're safe, but still, it's, you know, it's on your mind. You know, you
Dude, big
like,
time. You
yeah,
can't help it.
yeah.
That big boom is it's
Oh,
just
it's
visceral.
so
It just becomes
loud.
a part of your
Yeah,
soul. I mean, that must be,
the
yeah, amazing.
clash of it, it just makes this clash. You know, oh man, you know it. It's no wonder, like, you know, I can only imagine what the like Plains Indians, you know, that their like religions must have had a lot about thunder
Oh
in
God,
them, you
yeah.
know. Can you just like, imagine like what ancient man must have thought that was, you know, like,
There's some
well,
pretty
you know,
big guys up there.
yeah, they're you know, like what did we do, you know? Oh my God, okay, I'm sorry, we'll go sacrifice some more people. Sorry, you know, like, what have we
Yes.
done? What have
Because we
we
just don't
done?
get we don't
Mm,
get supercells here. You guys have supercells, right? We don't have that.
oh,
We don't have anything like that. You know, we have they're not extinct. You know, they don't not happen. And but the thunderstorms. Yeah, actually, southeast England, which is kind of where I live, gets the
mhm.
most thunderstorms per year. But that's not saying much. Um, it's actually, I wish I did live southeast because then I would see a few more. I kind of live south central, so it's not quite good enough. But I
Got it.
mean, I would be, I would be
You
so.
you can see
I
the
just want
Isle
to
of
see them,
Wight.
dude.
The
I can
yeah,
indeed. The Isle of Wight is just over
that's
there,
it.
just over the water. I can literally, I can just hop on my push bike, cycle for. In fact, I don't even need to do that. I can walk for about 4 minutes, just past the pub, and into and then I can just look out and I can see the Isle of Wight.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. So
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah. And talking of the wind though, because you were saying about 100-mile-an-hour wind, we actually had a
Yeah.
storm here, Storm Eunice, back in February 22. About 3 years ago. That hit 122 miles per hour on the Isle of Wight.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah, that was decent.
that's serious.
Yeah, strongest ever recorded in England, and it happened just
Okay.
over the water from where I am.
Yeah, wow, 122. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so I didn't realize you guys even got that kind of extreme stuff there.
Not
Not
often,
not often.
but it
Okay.
does happen. We
Okay.
once had 173 miles per hour. That was the highest gust of
Wow.
wind ever up in Scotland.
In Scotland. Okay.
173. But yeah, we have what we all talk about. We will talk about the great one. Okay. And we talk about it's the Great Storm of 1987. I was
Okay.
5 years old during
Okay.
this. So I have only the vaguest conceptual recollection of it.
Okay.
And it was fascinatingly famous because you may have heard of this, but we had a very famous weather forecaster on the telly called Michael Fish. And Michael Fish said, "Don't worry, there isn't going to be a hurricane. And it wasn't, it was 15 million trees blown down, entire woodland
Gosh.
areas flattened, 115 miles an hour, 18 people fucking died. Right.
Jeez. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
And literally that night he was going, yes, but don't worry, it's absolutely fine.
Don't
Nothing will
don't
happen.
worry. Don't worry. You're
Yeah,
good
and
now.
he is for the rest of his life, for the rest of all
Oh
time,
yeah. Oh
Michael
yeah.
Fish and his other that
He's
poor
like,
guy.
of course, that poor guy. Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah. He was just doing his best. He
Mhm.
he was looking at the data. "Oh, I've seen this before. Don't worry, guys. This is might have some light rain or something, but not to worry, not to worry." Cut to
Yes.
18 dead, and
Yeah.
a forest flattened.
Yeah.
Like, what was
Yeah, but
that
I
again,
can.
Mike?
It was. Yeah, right. I honestly, I mean, I can remember something or other. Just kind of have. I think I have a vague recollection of some kind of, being sort of holed up inside the house and it being terrifying and sort of,
Oh
windows
man,
shaking and everything like this.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I think that maybe that's where it comes from. Maybe that's part of what it is. But there's something about it, mate, and I love it. I love it
You're
so
drawn to it.
much.
You're
I
attracted to
am. I
it.
really,
Okay.
really am. I love it as well when I drive. If I go driving, I would love to see extreme weather. And again,
Yeah.
I like to put the limits of the car to be tested. But I like for me, it's the juxtaposition. I
Okay.
love being in my car, soft, warm leather seats, nice bit of warmth, music on. Everything's just perfect. The humidity's just right. Everything's just nice. And yet, an inch the other side of where my hand is resting on the side of the door, it's just absolute carnage.
Utter
And
pandemonium.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love that. I love
Wow.
that. Something about juxtapositions like that, which really get
I
me.
never really considered it until just now, but yeah, there is something very cool about that.
Mm,
The thing is, where I live, um, there is just no extreme wet. I mean, maybe some extreme heat.
mm.
There'll be some like and they'll say like, oh, record breaking this and that, but that doesn't really even mean anything. It's like they've been keeping records for like some
150
areas,
years or something.
some areas 80 years, some areas at most like 150 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's a drop in the bucket when
Mm.
you're talking about weather and
Well,
the planet's
yeah.
age.
Well, oh God, indeed. Yes. Well, we are living in one of the most, well, we were, maybe that's starting to shift, living in one of the most, calm periods
Yo,
of
yeah, totally.
everything. But
Yeah.
not just on Earth, right? In the solar system as well, one of the calmest
Right,
periods
right.
of solar weather. We're thought to be in an incredibly calm period of the universe's life as well.
Speaking of
Um,
that,
yeah.
which you're right. I mean, we're kind of lucky. We've been lucky enough, or maybe not, maybe the opposite, to have been born in this like Goldilocks zone where everything's
Yes.
just kind of just
Well,
right.
indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, you you were saying like solar. I saw this. Gosh, I saw this show on YouTube. It's probably like 2 months ago, something like that, where they were talking about kind of cracking the code on cloud formation and like why clouds form where they do,
Okay.
and what the researchers discovered. It was like a Israeli team. I think they were from Tel Aviv that made this discovery. It had a lot to do with like um, solar, like actual solar flares, and where certain kind of had a lot to do with like the sun basically. So the
Okay.
sun sending different kinds of solar flares, and different charged like ions will come in, and kind of based on where they come into our atmosphere, that will select for like cloud formation in that area. And I just found that utterly fascinating that, wow, the sun, 93 million miles away, it's so far away that it takes light 8 minutes to travel from the sun to here.
Hmm.
That at the speed of light, we're
Oh,
so
dude.
we're seeing light that's 8 minutes old right now, which is, just like the sun could have exploded and we wouldn't know about it for 8 minutes.
Indeed, yeah.
It's amazing. So,
Yep.
uh, anyway, I just like found that really fascinating that, you know, the system is that big, I mean, because my understanding, and I think even just science's understanding until these guys kind of made their discovery with this was, just kind of the simple what you were taught in, seventh grade chemistry class, right? Where, oh, okay, well then, there's surface water and it evaporates, and
Yeah.
once,
Humidity.
yeah, humidity, and once you get to a certain uh, you know temperature or pressure, it'll form a cloud and then it'll drop right back down. um
Hmm.
and it's like, oh no, no, there's way more to it than that, and in fact it involves the whole solar system.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It just is fascinating to me.
It is.
um
They've just seen, of course, NASA. Have you heard about the Parker Solar Probe?
no.
They launched it in 2018,
Okay.
and I think it's the Parker. I might be getting. I'm pretty sure it's Parker Solar Probe. It's basically NASA's recently just seen their probe that they sent touch the sun. It's actually something man-made has actually entered the
Wow.
sun's corona, and we've actually seen. We're actually getting data back, and it's obviously not going to last long. It may have already burned up. Um,
So it went like up to the sun basically to send back pictures or something.
Yeah, it's the Parker Solar
Wow.
Probe. Yes, indeed. Yeah, so it seems to be. So I'm just quickly googling now to get some facts and figures, and it says on December the 24th, no, 2024, NASA's Parker Solar Probe broke a record by flying closer to the sun than any human-made object ever, reaching just 3.8 million miles from the sun's surface.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
It survived the
Wow.
intense heat and the radiation, and is currently reporting normal operations.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah, so it's
Wow.
letting scientists study the sun's corona, its outer atmosphere, and its magnetic field to help us better
Yeah.
understand the sun and its impact on our solar system. And it was traveling at its closest approach, it was traveling at a speed of 430,000 miles per hour.
Jeez.
Astonishing, isn't it?
430,000.
Yeah.
So 430,000 miles per hour. Wow. Nearly a half million miles per hour. Wow.
Yes, which is of
That's
course,
wow.
it's peanuts to space,
Oh yeah,
but there it
no,
is.
sure. Yeah, it's that's yeah, that's
it's
that's
there's a lot of
nothing. Yeah, that's
yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, because don't forget the speed of light is 186,000, what,
Yes.
282 miles per hour, and it's
Yes. That's right.
and so
No, no, per
oh, sorry, per
second. Per
second, per
second. Yeah.
second.
Yeah,
Apologies,
per
yeah.
second. Yeah.
And that is already slow, as you're saying, 8 minutes 20 seconds, right, till we even
Yes.
know the sun's
Yep.
blown up.
That's right. That's
In
right.
perfect, blissful, everything's fine. I mean, yeah, and then I'll go. We can get into all sorts of territory if you
Well,
start talking about
it's
relativity and relativistic speeds and everything.
it's
But yes.
something that just like always blows my mind. Like when you look up at the stars at night, the light you're seeing is so old. Like in fact, there's a very real possibility the light you're seeing from any given star, that star's not even there anymore. And
Yes,
the vast distances the lights had to travel, again, like our closest star, other than the sun, of course,
Mhm,
our
mhm.
closest star is 4.7 light years away, Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
And that so traveling at 186,000 miles per second for
Mhm.
little over 4.5 years, traveling at that speed,
Yeah.
that's how long it takes. I mean, it's just so, like, the mind can't even
You can't
comprehend.
begin to. No,
Yeah, you
no.
cannot begin to
One
even grasp it.
so 1% of the speed of light. If we were to get, because I was wondering what kind of percentage that 430,000 miles per hour is
Yeah,
going to get you. Um, it would take to get to 1% of the speed of light, we'd be close to 7 million miles per hour. So 430,000 isn't even on the order of a percentage. It's not even that.
right.
It's not even 0.1. It's
Not
like
even, yeah,
0.05 or something. Wow.
not even registering. Yeah, like point oh
Yeah.
oh five. Yeah, it's
Yeah, but
crazy.
it's
And
it's yeah.
you
Astonishing,
know,
right?
it is. It's so astonishing. And, I just like, I always think that, like, look, I'm looking at this light, like this star that is emitting light, like, wow, I'm looking at the light that was emitted when Jesus was walking the earth. When,
Mhm.
when Hannibal and Rome were fighting, I'm seeing 2,000 years ago,
Oh, dude,
or what,
there's some
I mean,
great stuff. Those initial radio broadcasts,
oh,
TV that we had, 50 years ago, 100 years ago,
amazing.
that would be brand new
Still
if you were
travel.
just a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yep.
just
Yep.
50 light years away or whatever. Brilliant.
Yep. Yep. I mean, and again, if there is other advanced life out there, which, who knows, but, they were, and they have technology like we do, and they can receive signals.
Mhm.
And let's just say, just for the sake of argument, just for fun, that there is a planetary, there is a solar system around one of these stars that's within, you know, just say just within one of the arms of our spiral galaxy, like in the same arm as us.
Mhm.
So, it would be able to travel within 50 years. Can you imagine, like, how funny? I mean, that would be like the very first contact would be, Mickey Mouse, and
Mm.
like these old, like,
But
Three
if they looked,
Stooges.
if you're 1,000 light years away and you were an alien civilization, you had enough magnet and enough of a technology to be able to zoom in 1,000 light years away, they would see, like Stonehenge and stuff. They'd
Yeah.
see people
Yeah.
doing, like tribal
Oh yeah.
sacrifices and whatnot, and it would be another 1,000 years before they'd hear a single message from us to say anything, that involved radio or anything.
Man,
It's just, yeah, mind blowing.
very, very interesting to put ourselves in the place of, like, what would they think? What, if you're an alien that just gets dropped here on this earth, or, like you say, you can zoom in and look at it. Like, what are your thoughts on this planet? And again, there's so many things to, who knows, they could be on some planet where there's more multiple species of higher intelligent beings. It isn't just one dominant species and then animals. Who knows, maybe it's, you know their equivalent of a dog is just as smart as me. you know uh there's so many things to consider. Well, what would they think about this place is what I often
Absolutely.
ponder. Like,
Absolutely.
what would they be like? Wow, these people, they're doing this, and they're doing, like, just the confusion that would be, what are they don't know the difference between a man and a woman. They don't know their own genders. Like, just
There's oh, dude, there's been so much fun with that, And there was an episode of Star Trek where they did some time traveling, and one of the Ferengi, who are known for their desire for making profit and money, end up back in the Second World War sort of time, and one of the Ferengi hears that people he gets offered this cigarette and he smokes it and he says it's disgusting, whatever, and he says yes, but these are incredibly popular. People making money hand over fist. People are paying for these. He says, yes, yes, but they're poisonous. People are willing to buy poison
yeah,
for
people.
themselves. We
I
could
love
make
it.
a
I love it.
fortune on this planet.
I love it. Wait, they'll buy poison and
Yeah.
they'll administer it to themselves.
He was
Oh
just
my
delighted at the
god.
possibility.
Yeah, we are going to be rich. I love it.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
good.
And what
That
if,
is
as
so
well,
funny.
the idea of uh, what we understand as life as well is very much central to our planet and our experience of life, because there's
Very
also a
much. Yep.
possibility that you can have, because we have carbon-based life,
Yes.
and that's because carbon is one of the most reactive, or one of the most
Well, it
active sort
has
of.
carbon and silicon are the only two elements that have four open valence electron slots,
Right.
basically. So, like, That's one thing that I've kind of pondered too. You know, like, well, what if there was a silicon-based life form? Because
Mm,
it has the same reactivity as carbon does. It would
indeed.
obviously be a much, much heavier, heavier, much heavier life form.
But
But
it could possibly have
but
evolved
it's a
just the same,
possibility, though.
yeah,
It's
just
a
the same
possibility, though. Yeah.
improbability, and also, yeah, the idea of course, and it could, it would be crystal based probably, and it would be much more kind of, maybe almost mechanical life forms could have evolved. And the reason I'm saying this is because it just, while we were talking, it reminds me of a absolutely fantastic science fiction short story by Terry Bison that he published in 1991 called "They're
Good.
Made Out of Meat."
Okay.
Um, and I don't know if you've heard it, but
I
if you
haven't.
haven't, if you
No.
wanted to settle in for a couple of minutes, I'll read you
Oh,
the short
please.
story.
What a treat. Please, yeah, I'm all ears. I'm settling in. Let's hear this story. I'm cannot wait, actually.
Okay, okay. So it's a discussion. Is a discussion between these two aliens, right? Okay. They're made out of meat. Meat, meat. They're made out
What
of meat.
what year was it written by that?
1991. Sorry,
Okay,
1991.
got it.
Yeah. Meat. They're made out of meat. Meat. There's no doubt about it. We picked several from different parts of the planet, took them aboard our recon vessels, probed them all the way through. They're completely meat. But that's impossible. What about the radio signals? The messages to the stars. And they use the radio waves to talk, but the signals don't come from them. The signals come from machines. So who made the machines? That's who we want to contact. They made the machines. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Meat made the machines. Well, that's ridiculous. How can meat make a machine? You're asking me to believe in sentient meat. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. These creatures are the only sentient race in the sector, and they're made out of meat. Maybe they're like the or fole, a carbon-based intelligence that goes through a meat stage. No, they're born meat, they die meat. We studied them for several of their spans, which didn't take too long. Do you have any idea lifespan of meat? Spare me. Okay, maybe they're only part meat. Like the wedile, a meat head with an electron plasma brain inside. No, we thought of that. Since they do not have meat heads, since they do have meat heads like the Whittler, but I told you we probe them, their meat all the way through. No brain. Oh, there's a brain, all right. It's just the brain is made out of meat. So what does the thinking? You're not understanding, are you? The brain does the thinking, the meat, thinking meat. You're asking me to believe in thinking meat. Yes, thinking meat, conscious meat, loving meat, dreaming meat. The meat is the whole deal. Are you getting the picture? Oh my God, you're serious then? They're made out of meat. Finally, yes, they are indeed made out of meat. And they've been trying to get in touch with us for almost 100 of their years. So, what does the meat have in mind? Well, first, it wants to talk to us. Then, I imagine it wants to explore the universe, contact other sentients, up ideas and information, the usual. We're supposed to talk to meat. That's the idea. That's the message they're sending out by radio. Hello, anyone out there? Anyone home? That sort of thing. They actually do talk then. They use words, ideas, concepts. Oh, yes, except they do it with meat. I thought you just told me they used radio. They do. But who do you think is on the radio? Meat sounds. You know how when you slap or flap meat, it makes a noise? They talk by flapping their meat at each other. They even sing by squirting air through their meat. Oh my God, singing meat. This is altogether too much. So, what do you advise? Officially or unofficially? Both. Officially, we are required to contact, welcome, and log in any and all sentient races or multi beings in the quadrant without prejudice, fear, or favour. Unofficially, I advise that we erase the records and forget the whole thing. I was hoping you'd say that. It seems harsh, but there's a limit. Do we really want to make contact with meat? I agree 100%. What's there to say? Hello, meat. How's it going? But will this work? How many planets are we dealing with here? Oh, just one. They can travel to other planets in special meat containers, but they can't live on them. And being meat, they only travel through sea space, which limits them to the speed of light and makes the possibility, if they're ever making contact, pretty slim. Infinitesimal, in fact. So we just pretend there's no one home in the universe? That's it. Hmm, cruel. But you said it yourself. Who wants to meet meat? And the ones who have been aboard our vessels, the ones you've probed? You sure they won't remember? Oh, they'll be considered crackpots if they do. We went into their heads and smoothed out their meat so that we're just a dream to them. A dream to meat. How strangely appropriate that we should be meat's dream. And we can mark this sector unoccupied. Good. Agreed. Officially and unofficially. Case closed. Any others? Anyone interesting on that side of the galaxy? Yes. A rather shy but sweet hydrogen core cluster intelligence in a class 9 in G445 zone. Was in contact 2 galactic rotations ago. Wants to be friendly again. Ooh, they always come around. And why not? Imagine how unbearably, how unutterably cold the universe would be if one were all alone. There you go.
Fantastic. I wish I had a soundboard with a bunch of claps. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Dunk. I was waiting for you, Dunk.
There you go. I just loved that story. I read that a number of years ago and it stuck with me. It's brilliant.
Uh,
I
So
love it.
good.
It's
So
just so
good.
true. It's like, sorry, what? Thinking me.
Thinking meat,
How do
singing
they
meat.
communicate then? They flap their meat at each other.
I love that. They flap. You know, the sound of meat flapping.
Brilliant. And then in the end,
Oh,
just the idea that actually, but then to us, the idea that there's some rather shy but sweet hydrogen core cluster intelligence in a class 9 star. Like, wow, yeah. The idea that we're looking for life, and that life has to be like us. Well, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, there.
maybe.
I mean, there's just so many different things it could be, right? It could be meat.
Love it.
I, I
Yeah.
mean, I love that. That was a good little by the way, you are an amazing reader. Just so you know, like you have that geez, man, you could like put a kid to sleep. Um
I used to.
just the way you like change your voice there and so like no, you're a really good reader.
Thank you.
You
Yeah,
could do like
I
one of
should.
those like voice like Lieberbox recordings, you could read books for them.
Oh wow, cool. I see. I'd love that because I do enjoy it. I struggled to read some of their made up alien name words from it, and also I was being inconsistent with my voice swaps. I realized afterwards I should have probably nailed down 2 accents or something, or 2 different tones. So I wasn't quite. But if I did it again, I'd probably do it better. But thank you. I really enjoyed that,
Yeah,
and I
I
thoroughly
mean
enjoyed
for an
reading
off
like
the
that to
cuff
my
read.
daughter. So, yeah, my daughter loved it. She absolutely loved
Oh,
it.
I
I
bet.
remember when she was little and we used to read every single night. It was the highlight of my day because I would sit there with the with fairy tale books and do it just like that. And she had the time of her life, and she would always try and she wanted to do it with me. So she became a very avid reader very early on because of that. I think she always wanted to be able to follow along when I was reading, even if she didn't understand what was going on with looking at the words. She wanted to know what I was looking at.
Yep.
And then if we then eventually we started taking it in turns. We do a sentence or a page each. Um, yeah, it was good fun.
Same. So pretty much the same thing here. Callisti became a big reader. Um, God, I don't know. It's probably like 5 or 6. she just really started, yeah, probably like 6. She was just always reading, and same thing, like I would read to her before she go to sleep, and kind of that same curiosity of wanting to be able to follow along. It just got her into reading, so it worked out
Mm.
great. And then she just started reading, reading, reading. Um, yeah,
Well,
that was a great way to get the kid to learn how to read.
nice. Well, I love
You know,
that.
and now she's going away to an Ivy League school. So get your kid to read early; they'll go to an Ivy League school.
Mm. Yes, Emmy's favorite thing is still English and still all that stuff. And she's a wonderful story writer as well now. I read something that
Oh,
she wrote um, a few weeks ago, and it absolutely floored me. The descriptive, well, the way that how she described things, it was a really, she described not just what you see, but the way things smell and feel, and the impressions they leave on you, and the feelings you have, and all this. It's so immersive. And I was just, you wrote this, and she absolutely did. She didn't use ChatGPT for it. She wrote it, and I was just so proud. I said to her, the world needs people like you. Dear. You
yep.
have to pursue this. This is a gift, you know.
That's so great. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so well, and especially coming from you too. That is a very good compliment. I know you wouldn't say that if you didn't mean it.
Oh, I was floored. Yeah, this is the thing. I won't blow smoke up people's
Hi-
arse.
how
Uh,
how old? Emmy's 16, right?
no, she's
Or
14, but she's going to be 15
14.
in just a few short months. She's going to turn 15
Okay,
at the end of June.
and because again, because your guys' school system's a little bit different. That's why I thought she was older. So,
Mm.
um, so when she does her year abroad,
Yeah.
that will be her like, that would be like the sorry about that. That would be like the equivalent of her like senior year, right?
Yes. Yes. It
Okay.
seems to be. Yeah. I think the idea is she's going to go because we have to see when I was at school, you only had to stay in education until you were 16, and then you could go off and you didn't have to carry on, and that was called uh, either further or higher education. I think higher education was then college for 2 years, and that took you to 18, and then from there you could go to university. At 18 you could take a gap year, as quite often people do, and then they go on to do
Oh,
university between sort of 2 to
wait.
4 years,
Okay.
depending on
Wait.
what you're
Wait.
studying.
So your guys is so your high
That was
school. You're
yeah.
out of high school at 16. So
Yes, well, we used to be. We used to be. Now you have to stay on until you're 18. Now there's no leaving at 16.
okay.
Now
Okay.
college is not optional. They exist, they're called colleges still, but now secondary schools, as they're called, is equivalent to your high school. Goes on until 18.
Well, and actually, it sounds like what you guys call college is the last 2 years of what we call high
Correct.
school. Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Or sixth form. Sixth form is the other term for it.
sixth form,
Sixth form, yeah.
sixth
That's
form.
when you're doing the last. There's like extra couple of years, as I think of them. Sixth
You,
form,
you know,
yeah.
see, it's always funny. Like again, meeting a European, they always say, oh, going to university, off to university, and,
Hmm.
until right now, I didn't realize the what a difference there was when you guys say college and university. So until just
Mm.
literally until just now. So you guys would call college that would be like our 11th and 12th grade,
Yes,
and
if
and
you actually,
then
if and it's yeah,
so we call that junior college. If you go for like just 2 years, we call that junior
okay.
college. And then if you're going for like just the regular 4 year, get a bachelor degree or something, just regular college or university.
And typically, junior college doesn't
Yeah,
start until you're
right.
Oh no
18.
way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and
Oh right.
it sounds like you guys too also have like an option to do like a trade, right?
Yes, there are different kinds of courses. You don't have to be pure academic. Those last 2 years, you can do kind of what they call vocational courses, I think, which are you sort of do a bit of a job and it trains you for a specific industry.
Wow.
Maybe you want to
Okay.
become a mechanic or something, or maybe you want to, whatever. And those are more practical. You'd finish that and kind of start work kind of thing.
So if
Um,
you were so say I was growing up and I had my, trajectory of going into construction.
mhm.
I mean, it wouldn't be a perfect one to one with me because I was going to go to college, but then Hurricane Katrina hit, and so I didn't go to New Orleans because of here we go to tie the whole circle back to extreme weather. Hurricane Katrina hit and kept me from going to Tulane in New Orleans. And my summer job, I joined the union and was like installing carpet and soft tile and stuff like that. Um, and then that just started my like whole trajectory into the world of construction. But I guess what I'm getting at is if you were going to do that in England,
Mhm.
you would start at 16 and instead
Yes.
of going to school, you would go to like a trade school.
Yeah, exactly. If you
Is
want to
that
build
right?
things and not sit, yeah, if you want to build things and not sit in lessons all day, listening to lectures or whatever, you have got vocational routes into construction. You've got BTECs, which is I can't remember what BTEC stands for, but these are national diplomas in construction. You've got what are called T levels in design, surveying, and planning for construction. You've got city and guilds, NVQs in construction trades like bricklaying, carpentry and joinery, plastering, electrical installation,
Yeah,
plumbing.
yeah.
Yeah, and then also construction apprenticeships, where you earn while you learn. So you work on site, get paid, and train toward a recognised qualification. So like
Interesting.
site labourer, civil engineering technician, all that kind of stuff, whatever you want, scaffolding, plant operation. And these start as early as age 16. Employers
Interesting.
partner with local colleges. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay, that's I like that. Frankly, I like that system a lot more than our system. I think that's fantastic. Um, so, so the way it worked for me when when I got in the union, you'd have what's called a blue book, and so you'd have to work a certain amount of hours every quarter. So like every 3 months, you needed to have, I think it was like 320 hours. I think something like that. The 320 is sticking out to me for some reason. So anyway, you had to have a certain amount of hours, and then you would have to go to school. So you would be a certain period apprentice for 6 months. Okay.
Okay.
And then you would have to go to school every 3 months, so that every period you're doing 2 weeks of schooling, like at the trade school, like at the just like at the union hall,
Mm.
is basically where the trade school is. And you go into like a big warehouse and you'd make mock-ups, so they would teach you, here's how you install baseboard, here's how you lay tile, here's how you lay carpet,
Okay.
here's how you weld a seam, here, coving, blah, blah, blah. And, you get like real formal training from other journeymen and other masters. So, like, we don't really use that system anymore where we go up to master, but like, had I stayed in the trades, I would, like, I'm almost at a level where I could be a master.
No.
Like a few years and I would have been a master. And like like it really produces someone who really knows what they're doing,
Mm.
versus somebody who's just goes and buys tools and starts working in the trades. So I think that like that system that you guys have there is amazing. So like, the way it would work, you like I said, you'd have this blue book and you'd have to log your hours for every day. At the end of the week, the site superintendent or project manager, someone have to sign off for you. And the way it worked is like they would call it an A50, so an apprentice at 50%. And then you become an A55, then an A60, and you're at the percentage of a journeyman's wage. So you start off as an A50, and you're making, I think I was making like 23 bucks an hour. So then, do the math. By the time you journey out, you're making $46 an hour plus all the benefits and all the
Wow,
other
dude.
little perks that came with it. Yeah, so it's
Nice.
great money. And again, you got to realize, like, that was back in, that was 20 years ago,
Damn.
since 2005. So I'm sure it's much higher now,
Mm.
because they're always negotiating higher contracts. But yeah, you would just move up like that, and it would take you 4 years until you become a journeyman, um, sometimes 5. But then, yeah, then you're like, by the time you become a journeyman, you like totally know the trade. And I'm just thinking about like the way you guys do it there. If you had 2 years to like sit and be an apprentice
Mm.
and like work and earn, and you're also getting your diploma with it, like, man, that is a great system.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to stop there too. If you really want to carry on, you're not locked out of uni because you did something vocation, because you did something practical. You can,
Okay.
these BTEC nationals and T levels are what they call level 3 qualifications, which is equivalent to what we call A levels here, which is the 2-year course you do at 17 and 18. Those A
Okay.
levels give you points, which let you get into degrees. So you could have a degree, you could go into construction management, quantity surveying, civil engineering, architectural technology, building surveying, you could do all sorts of stuff. Construction site management, whatever. Building
This
services.
makes so much sense to me now, because like, so every time it wouldn't happen very much, but every once in a while I would run across a European, uh, well, like an English guy,
Hmm.
but and they would always be like, there's this guy Barney, and he was a roofer, and it just got to a point where like he was the only guy I would hire because he was just so, he was so good.
Right.
And now it makes sense to me. Like,
So
okay, he was doing that apprenticeship program you guys are talking about. So like,
yeah.
but yeah, like every time I would come across a European guy, and again, it was not very frequently, but when I
Nice.
would, they were always like the best,
Nice.
and this makes so much sense to me now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, of course they were, because they'd have formal training and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh wow, man, that is just so much better than our than the system we have. I think,
Yeah.
I
Although
feel like,
it's funny, we still have
uh,
cowboy builders though. You can still have places, put buildings in. We have a lot of issues with more with new builds. The whole
uh,
snagging thing, at the end of it, when you have these snags, as they're called, and we're supposed to come back and have them fixed and so on. Some of them are atrocious. So not everyone who works in construction follows the right path, and they'll do stupid things which are not up to code. They'll make silly mistakes. If you buy you have to be very cautious buying a new build house here
right,
because the
okay,
chances are, if you really want to buy something which is maybe if you're looking to buy new, buy something which is 2 or 3 years old, because then all the snags will have been fixed and all the problems will have come out of the woodwork. Possibly
right,
literally.
right, right.
But I guess that's possibly to do with the fact that we also build quite inexpensively and quite quickly because we've got a problem with shortage of housing. And
Okay.
we try and pack a lot of stuff in and kind of there's a lot of profiteering. The
Yes,
companies want to
yes,
turn around as much profit as possible, so they kind of cut a few corners. There's still code, but it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
somehow, yeah, things can go wrong. I mean, I don't
Our
know, but this is what I've heard. This is what I've seen.
We have, I mean, again, just I'm sure your guys' system is better than ours. Like, again, we have code, and we have inspectors that come and will make sure you're building things to code. I will say this though, it's a absolute effing joke.
Mhm.
Um, the one time I built I built a house one time in a city called Brentwood, which this is a place where, like, very wealthy people live. Very, very wealthy.
It's where OJ lived.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I actually built on OJ Street on Rockingham, and
Mhm.
very funny. So yeah, this house that I built on Rockingham, when it came time for me to do the framing inspection, and when you're doing a framing inspection, you call it a framing inspection, but really what it is it's like it's an everything inspection, because
Yeah, right.
what you're getting is an okay to cover up the walls, right? So
Fine, yes.
it's an electrical inspection, it's a plumbing inspection, it's an insulation inspection, it's everything.
Mm.
And now they're making sure everything is okay, to now you can cover up all your walls, you can, put stucco on the outside, you can put drywall on the inside. Well, um I I'm at the point where I'm ready to call in for my okay to cover. I call in, the inspector shows up, and basically the way it is, you like call in the day before, and then the next day you get a little voice recording like, inspector will be there between 10 and 12,
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm,
So for this house, man, inspector shows up, comes into my little job office, and asks for my permit card. And he's like, we're doing a framing inspection, and I go, yeah. And he goes, okay. There's these other thing called deputy inspectors, where I hire an inspector who comes out and inspects that I do certain things the right way, like shear wall, concrete stuff. But again, I hire him, so of course he's always going to sign off, right? Why like, he would lose business if he didn't sign off on my
oh,
stuff.
that's
I would never
interesting.
call him again,
That's an
right? I
interesting
just
conflict of interest.
Yo,
Okay.
it's a horrible conflict of interest, right? Because that's how they make their money, is by working for contractors who call them. But if you say like, yeah, Joe, no, I'm not going to sign your stuff off, and I'm like, fine, good luck getting my business, So he
Hmm.
asks
I
the
like
so
it.
the city inspector asks for those inspection sheets. I give them to him, and then he just signed. Didn't take one step out to go look at the framing. Nothing. I give him my little deputy inspector sheets. He looks at them. Okay,
No,
everything's in order, and signs my
no,
permit.
dude,
Didn't
no.
even take like didn't even go and look. Nothing. Nothing.
Ah,
Didn't go check to make sure the shear wall was nothing. Nothing at all. And that's an extreme example. Okay, but like
no
the
wonder all your hands
every
are blown away. Fuck's sake.
well the dude it's why there's like so many crappy houses in LA though, because like that is just like that's the norm right there.
Uh-uh.
And even like again, like I say, that one's a little extreme, but even in just like the norm,
Yeah,
an inspector will come out and spend 2 minutes, come out, you do an electrical inspection, they'll come out and they'll look. You
yeah,
can't figure something, you need some time to, like, kind of figure out where all the circuits, you need some
yes,
time to like
yes.
really get like familiar with the, where they're running their lines and stuff.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
And they just come out 2 minutes. Oh, okay, yeah, you're good. Oh no, you're not good. And it's like, oh, wow. And
This is the
again,
thing.
if they're relying on deputy inspectors, a deputy inspector works for me, right? I'm paying
It's
him, so
fascinating,
it's like
isn't it?
it's really like,
Well, I guess this is the
it.
thing there. They've optimized it away, haven't they? They've gone, I'm
Yeah,
going to make,
yeah.
I don't know, whatever it is, hundreds of dollars for signing this bit of paper. Now, I can either
It's three
spend
to
the
four hundred.
entire, okay,
Yeah.
three or 400, I can either
Yep.
spend the next 8 hours earning that three,
Yep.
$400 or the next 8 minutes.
Yep.
And
That's
no
it.
one's going to stop me. And
Right.
because you need like watchers watching the watchers,
Right.
it's a
Right.
never ending. Because what you now
You
need is
totally
people
do.
who check their stuff. And then if they've signed off stuff which is dodgy, they lose their license, so they're incentivized to do a good job. But then, of course, you've got the people who are doing that, they would get lazy and they would get getting paid off by the people they're inspecting to just let them get away with it. So you need another
Well,
series of people to check their work.
and more often than not, it's all personal too. Like more often than not, it will be like, this guy just doesn't like you, so he's going to give you a hard time. And, and he's going to just give you a hard time over something that's nonsense,
Oh, right.
or this guy is, the guy that did that framing one where he like literally didn't even leave my job site office. He came into like my trailer, never went onto the site, just
Right.
came into my office and then just signed my
Well, he must
thing,
have.
signed off,
Right.
and left.
He must have really liked
Yeah.
you then.
Well, yeah, right. I don't, maybe, I don't know. I like wasn't with him enough to even form an opinion. I mean, it was like, like a 30-second ordeal.
Mm.
And again, like, look, thank God I stand by my work and stuff, but like,
Maybe that's what it was,
what,
Joe. Maybe he just could sense that you were
yeah, he
clearly
could, I'm
a
sure.
man of
Yes.
distinction. You know.
Yes. I'm sure that's what it was, just coming out of my pores. He knew,
Yes, he could
ah,
tell. He had a look
okay,
around and he was like,
this,
"I get it. I know
this
what's
is a
going on
stand-up
here.
guy
This is
here.
a
This
stand-up
is a
guy.
stand.
No need to waste anyone's time. No need to disrespect.
I
Really.
love, I love it. Well, hopefully it was that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of really again like perverse incentives, and yeah, the whole system there needs an overhaul.
Yes,
Um,
that's
Plus, I've just always had I I really have a problem with the word permit.
oh yeah,
Don't
sure.
tell me like what you're gonna permit me to do
Oh
to
good
my
God.
property.
Oh
You
God.
know, it's so like nanny state.
Mm.
You know, and again, like you can always tell when you have like a new inspector versus like someone who's been there, because the new inspectors will come out and you know they're actually doing their job, and they'll talk with you and, hey, okay, how many circuits are in here, and you actually spend some time. I've had it happen, over the years a few times,
Right.
and then it's great, okay, wow, I actually had an inspection, whoa, that was crazy. But I think what happens is these guys, they just get burnt out and they get
Yeah.
beaten down by the bureaucracy,
Mhm.
and it's just like this soulless bureaucracy that just
Well,
like sucks people dry, and they're like, whatever, you
imagine,
know.
can you imagine like every other industry? They probably get told when they get back from the day, what the hell took you so long? You've got 20
Yeah,
sites to
right.
inspect. Why on earth did you
Yep.
spend a whole day doing one? And the guy will go, well, because I have to. That's not good enough. You've got targets to meet, sunshine. Get the
Right.
others done, and they go, "Oh, fuck." And eventually, there you go. I'm getting more. I'm getting praised at work now by doing my job the worst I can possibly do it. But hell, I need to feed my family and I need to get promoted. So here it
Right.
is.
And so I've got to push this paper, and here's the way I push it. Mm,
Yeah.
like,
Incentivizations can be wrong. And they can backfire as well, can't they? You can incentivize
oh,
the
they really
wrong
can.
thing, even with the best of intentions, because that's clearly just stupid. But you can incentivize and then it can go completely the wrong way. If you're trying to optimize for something, people will eventually find the way to do that thing you're measuring them on, which can
Well,
actually yield negative results.
to me, the biggest telling, and this is like one of the most telling moments of my entire construction career. I did a house. Okay, so when we were talking again, look at the weave we're doing. I'm coming back to Altadena here. Wow, this is a long weave. So from the beginning, we were talking about fires, that area that burnt down. There was so he was, at the time, he was an inspector. Now he's like, I think he's like the chief engineer for Central LA now. Um, but at the time, he was just, a city inspector. And he wanted an addition on his house, like a kind of like a second living room, like for his kids to kind of turn into like a kind of like a playroom, like have a TV and have a television, have like toys and stuff for the children. And so we basically, what we did is we took his like backyard patio and like just kind of put walls around it, and built it into the house. To me, the most telling thing is here's a city inspector, here's a guy who works for the city of LA
Mhm.
and is like, you know, get getting his money to pay me from like from that whole process of permits and inspections. He is of that system. And when I gave him my estimate and told him, like, here's how much it's going to cost for me to build this for you, he asked me, he goes, well, how much is it if we do it with permits? And I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be this much. Well, what if we didn't do what if we don't do permits? I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll be able to save you this much money. Of course, we're doing something unpermitted.
Mm.
There's a risk with that. And he's like, oh yeah, no, no, I'm fine. And so the city inspector had me build his home edition without permits.
Oh
And
my
like to
goodness.
me, that's the most telling thing if you ever needed to like
There it is.
if the person who's like part of the regime himself is saying,
Mm.
no, 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 I'd rather you just not even mess about with that business. Let's just move on and you just go for it, Joe. I was
Mm.
like, wow, okay. And then anyway, I built the thing. We're done. Like 2 weeks later, the city sent him a notice saying, you have an unpermitted, you did an unpermitted build. And the way they found it, I was like, this is crazy. What they do now is they take like satellite photos, like from Google Earth,
Mm.
and they look and see, did someone like add an additional, what we call here an ADU, additional dwelling unit? It's like a guest house. Did you add a
Mm.
swimming pool? Did you, and they look at that and they looked at the satellite imagery and they saw that he had added a room. And so they
Right.
so they like ended up, dinging him. It was fine.
Mm.
It was fine, like we ended up getting it inspected and everything and like getting it all handled. But
Yeah. Retrospective. Yeah.
yeah, but still, it's just like that's what the cities here are doing, There's spending money so that they can, nag at people who did an unpermitted build. I just think it's so nanny state, it
Mm.
it's so like paternalistic. I hate it. I can't stand
Mm.
it.
Just
Again,
thinking of the unintended consequences of uh, well-meaning incentives so
yes.
backfiring.
Yes.
I've got a few examples here that I thought were quite interesting.
Hit me.
Uh, okay, so this is called there was one called the Cobra effect, which was in India under British colonial rule. So the incentive was the British government offered a bounty for every dead cobra to reduce the population.
Okay.
The outcome was that locals began breeding cobras to kill them and collect the bounty. Yeah, when the government realised this and ended the program, breeders released the now worthless cobras, increasing the wild population.
So now there's just more of them.
Yeah,
Oh man.
absolutely insane. Yeah, yeah. So they paid out and they had them all. Let's see. Here's another one. The Chinese Sparrows campaign.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's
yeah.
Mao where they wouldn't let them land, right? That one?
No. Well, this was incentive was part of the Four Pests campaign. People were encouraged to kill sparrows that ate grain.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
outcome was that with sparrows eliminated, locust populations exploded, devastating crops and contributing to the Great Chinese Famine.
Right, right. I remember learning about that where like Mao they would kill them. They would like if they ever tried to land somewhere, they would shoo them so that they would just keep flying and then end up dying because they couldn't like perch anywhere. Um,
Oh, I see. There you
so
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. That's hilarious. So now
Hmm.
it didn't control the. What did you say? What population?
Well, so sparrows was the idea to try and eliminate them, but the locust population
Locust. Yeah,
exploded because
right.
there were no sparrows. Yeah,
Oh,
ridiculous,
dang it.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Do you have any more?
So yeah, I got a couple more. I mean, so Paying children to read, your good country, incentivized some schools offered financial rewards to students for reading
Oh,
books.
oh, amazing. Okay.
Okay, but the outcome was that kids would just choose short or easy books just to earn the money, and that actually ended up reducing their interest in reading, um, because that was it. They just learned to read short stories and nothing else. So that's just,
Love
yeah,
it.
extrinsic rewards can crowd out intrinsic motivation.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, doctors paid by number of procedures. So
Oh,
incentive is, so yeah,
oh,
some healthcare systems, doctors are reimbursed per treatment or test performed, which of course leads to overtreatment, unnecessary tests,
of
and
course.
inflated healthcare costs. Yeah.
Of course.
Um, and of course, here's fairly fucked up. Carbon credit loopholes
Oh
in
man. Yeah.
industrial gas projects, right? So incentive companies were paid carbon credits for destroying a greenhouse gas, HFC 23.
Yep.
So some factories increased production of HFC
Yep.
23 just so they could destroy it and collect
Just
credits.
so they can, yeah, right.
Much like with the Cobras, I suppose. Yeah,
Yep.
same sort of situation.
God
Um,
dang, man. God dang.
mm, yes,
Yeah, I
indeed.
feel like this. I feel like this type of stuff fits in so well with our last episode when we were talking about like the arrogance of modern humanity. You know, it fits so well into that. Like people, oh well, we're just gonna, like people who think they can engineer society, and control every little aspect of it. Well, this is what
Yeah.
that's what you get. You end up getting the Cobra plan. Anyway, I'm sorry. It sounded like you're about to say another one.
No, no. I mean, there are a couple, but not really. I mean, Wells Fargo was the other one, the account scandal back in 2016. So employees were given aggressive sales targets
Oh,
and bonuses for opening new accounts.
okay.
So staff just ended up opening millions of fraudulent accounts without customer consent just to meet quota. They just do it. They just take
I
the
left
name and
Wells Fargo because of this.
say again.
I used to bank with them. I left them
Oh
because of
wow.
this. I wasn't. They opened up accounts in my
Wow.
name.
There you go.
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Screw them. I went. Now I'm debanked, so it's not even a problem.
Wow. That's crazy. So they would just go open accounts in their customers'
Yeah.
names.
Like I checked it. So if you went into like the mobile banking, they wouldn't add it to mobile banking. But if you actually went and checked like your actual
Yeah.
accounts that were opened up in your name, then you would have additional accounts. They just wouldn't add it to your like mobile banking, so people just wouldn't notice that they'd have an additional account open.
Dang. God. I love
And
this list.
and then they ended up giving the CEO, when he couldn't have any excuses, they gave him a like his usual bonuses and stuff. So I'm like, you're gonna reward the CEO that literally broke the law
I love
with a
it. I love
reward.
it.
This
The
makes no
same
sense. So I just said I left them
same thing
immediately.
that happened in 2008 where these bankers and insurance companies just totally crash with their recklessness and just like treating the American and world economy as like a casino. They trashed the just collapsed our market in '08. I'm sure you guys
Yeah, I
remember.
was thinking, oh wait.
Anyway, it was amazing how many CEOs got, golden parachutes out of that, where, no one went to jail, but a bunch of people got a bunch of bonuses and were able to retire with these retirement packages that are, I mean, my God, they would make, this is like a level of corruption that would like make like Stalin blush. It's so
Mm.
bad. These guys would leave with, they just ran their company into the ground. They, not only not only did they like crash and tank the American economy, they also, crashed their own bank or their own fund. And then they would leave with, $140 million payout. And I was just like, "Oh, how is that happening?" How, oh well, we need to pay for talent. I got it. I understand you need to pay for talent. I'm all for that. Look, you're never going to find someone who's like more pro free market and capitalist than me. I'm all about it. I want everything to operate on a consensual voluntarism. But I mean, it needs to work both ways. Like, if you tank the company and then also take down the world economy with it, something tells me like you didn't earn that bonus. I don't know. Am I crazy? Like,
Dude,
am I?
seriously. Yeah, well, it's like the Lehman Brothers, isn't it? Old Richard
Oh
Fuld, right?
God, man. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And
Yeah.
that was like
Mhm.
the genesis of it. But I mean, it's even. I mean, there's so much more than just that. But I mean,
Mhm.
there's one right. Like even like he didn't. He's not hurting for money. You know, it's crazy to me, man. I'm curious actually what he's up to. I would love to know. Hey, Dunk Jamie, can you find out what the
Probably
former
enjoying life. I mean, he earned $480 million in salary, bonuses, and stock over the period.
480 million?
Yeah.
What was his exact name
Richard
again?
Fuld,
Fold.
Fuld.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so curious to hear this.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, and again, like I remember just hearing about like, oh well, this AIG executive is leaving, and this executive's leaving, and they're getting. Again, I'm not like one of these. I'm not an Occupy Wall Street radical. You know what I
No,
mean?
sure.
Like that. I couldn't be further from that. But but my God, there's got to be some kind of accountability, like some kind of justice. And just nothing happened. No one.
Dude, we had biggest thing in the UK happen. We had a Royal Bank of Scotland, Fred Goodwin, aggressive acquisitions, over leveraging. It's caused one of the biggest corporate collapses in UK history. RBS ended up requiring.
No repercussions.
There you go,
Criticism. He faced
criticism. Yeah, there you go,
criticism.
criticism.
And he had no criminal
Mhm.
charges, and he's currently worth $250 million.
So he's currently worth 250 million. So he bankrupted his company, and he's worth 250.
Bankrupted half the
Mm-hmm.
planet.
Yeah.
Yep. No criminal charges. Criticism.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's got $250 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, the government, the UK taxpayer ended up uh, having to give RBS £45 billion
Ugh.
as a bailout, and thousands of RBS employees lost their jobs. And this Goodwin chap kept his 700 grand a year pension.
Ugh.
Yeah.
How
I
do
mean, it
you
was
live
reduced a
with
little after
yourself?
public backlash.
Yeah. Oh, so it went from 700 to 600, I guess. Okay.
So, right.
I mean, I hope he's okay. Geez, I hope he will be able to get by. I mean, again, man, again, I can't state it enough. I'm not a radical communist. Like I'm a
No.
free market guy. Like I'm cut my arm, I bleed wealth of nations. Okay. I am an Adam Smith guy, like through and through. I'm a capitalist. I'm like free markets, I think is the best way to run an economy. Okay. I'm all about it. Well, at the same time as that, at the same time, you cannot have like what they had there was not the free market. That was like corporatism. That was cronyism. It was having people, basically get in bed with the government, write the laws, write the law they broke the bar. So in the 90s, Bill Clinton repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, which basically kind of rolled out the red carpet for these banks to turn into massive casinos. Because what that did is it took the divider down between commercial and retail banking. So they're no longer separated. And that's like when the casino opened, man.
Yeah.
And it didn't even take 10 years for everything to go up in smoke. So I think that's one of again, I am never the guy, you're never going to see me like cheerleading for regulations. I'm always for free market and voluntarism. I want people to, you know, enter things with, you know, on their own volition, with their own consent. You know, like, I'm probably like a tick away from being like an actual like anarchist. You know what I mean? Like an ANCAP.
Mhm.
You know, like for real. You know, like um, I just want people to consenting adults to join into and enter agreements without the government needing to have a say. You know,
Mm.
adults should be able to do whatever they want. Now, with that said, there, you know, we do need laws. You know, man is fallen. People do victimize other people and all, you know, all that.
Right.
So there is a level of regulation that is needed. So,
Mhm.
you know, I recognize that, but pretty much reflexively, I'm against regulation. Pretty much reflexively, I'm against any kind of government coercion. Okay, pretty much. In this
Okay.
case, I'm just saying, like, they really did. You turn Wall Street into a big old casino, and the thing that just drives me mad about this is the fact that when they lost and when they tore our economy to shreds, I was the one who had to pay the bill. They
Yes.
didn't have to pay the bill. It
No, that
was
was
the
the issue.
taxpayer. Yeah.
Yes,
We
exactly.
we
Yeah,
had
that
to
was the
bail
thing
them.
that pissed us
Just
all off. Yeah.
yeah, just like with you. You guys are talking about with RBS. Like, uh, excuse me. You know, wait a second. So you guys get corporate welfare. You guys get socialism. Um, but we have to pay for it, and the rest of the world, the rest of us, we're stuck playing by the rules of the, you know, of the free and fair market, but not you guys. You guys get welfare. You know, it just how, you know, how we didn't, like, as a society, rise up and
Uh-huh.
burn Wall Street down to the ground, you know, still boggles my mind. I really don't know how that didn't happen, because it was just so, like, it was all such a blatant, it was a real big fuck you to the average person. Like, I'm still piping mad about 2008, 2009. Like, it it was such a middle finger to the average person. You know, that
Mm.
like, and then to turn and have the, you know, taxpayers bail them out is just such a gigantic middle finger to everybody. You know, I I'm so shocked that, like, we pretty much came through the other side of it um without really any kind of change at all. um it's really shocking. I know there was some kind of there was like the Dodd-Frank act that they did here in America, which, you know, I'm not even really sure what
Well,
that
there was.
did on a
Mm.
structural level at all, you know. Go ahead.
I think yeah. There were some changes to um the way that bankers could be rewarded over here. I
Oh,
think there was
okay.
caps on bonuses, but they've just been recently removed.
Oh, okay. So it's back to okay.
Party time again. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all going
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. I mean, I look, again, I have no problem with people making big salaries. You know,
Of course not.
good. Yeah.
Mm.
I want people to be successful. You know, I'm not a jealous communist, an
Right.
envious communist. You know, like, that's not my speed. But yeah, but there's got to be, you know, when you lose and you run your business into the ground and you tank the American economy and then you tank the European market, like, Again, I don't know. I just feel like you're not entitled to having $250 million and a little bit of
Mhm.
criticism or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever you read there, Dunk. Like I I just feel like maybe you don't get to keep the 250, maybe. I don't know.
It's
Seems
tricky. Thing is, with that kind of money around, I suppose it goes back to the whole, with that kind of money, the people, there's so many people in the system that can then get very handsomely rewarded for turning a blind eye, for ticking a certain
yep,
box, for implementing a certain policy.
yep.
If you're small, you will feel the full force of the law and get crushed. If you're big
Well,
enough that other people can get embiggened by you,
yeah, yeah.
then you're
Well,
going to be fine because you're somebody everybody really wants to be friends with, no matter how you did it. If you've got millions upon hundreds of millions,
you're good.
you're
Yeah.
not really, yeah, there's not going to be a lot of people that wouldn't be pleased for you to make friends with them, regardless.
I have a feeling I have a feeling that we are going through so right now we're going through a big shift, a big change, and where like these people that we're talking about benefited a lot from the system that was in place.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I feel this, it feels so much more than politics to me, and like so much more than just like the standard left right um politics and economics. This feels like spiritual to me. I feel like we're going through like an actual like spiritual shift right now in the world. um to me, like rather than like left and right or something, it's almost like good versus evil is what I'm seeing, and
Mm.
um like that's the demarcation, like that's the dividing line. Like the dividing line isn't, are you liberal or conservative? um I really feel like there is something much bigger at play right here, and um it's not left or right, liberal, conservative, Whig or Tory, but really right or wrong, you
Mm.
know, right or wrong, good or evil,
Well, everybody.
pro humanity
Mm.
or pro destruction, you
Well, the
know.
thing is, everybody feels like they're on the right side every time.
Of course. Yeah, of
Everybody
course.
feels that, everyone who's behind a certain ideology thinks that they're doing that because they see the truth and they see the problem and they see that as the solution and whatever. And everybody who so vehemently opposes that does so in good faith as well. Largely speaking, everybody operates in
Well,
good faith. They
I,
just
I think you're
have,
right. I think you're right.
just fascinatingly inverted ways of looking at the world. I honestly find it incredibly fascinating. I've personally,
When you're discussing your average person, I agree with you. I
mm,
totally agree with you. I
yes,
do think there are people who know what they're doing,
yeah,
and are doing it anyway because it benefits them
of course.
financially or with power, or so
Mhm.
that's what I mean when I'm saying this, like good versus right versus wrong, that's
Okay.
where I'm going with that.
Indeed, wrong tends to have, I don't know whether this is just pessimistic, but wrong tends to have quite a profitable angle to it quite often, doesn't it, as well? So,
Yeah, wrong tends to have very good very good
very good
financial
financing.
support. Yeah.
Yeah,
um it does,
it really does. Yeah.
and it is like the spirit in which some of those finances are earned. There's this feeling where you just kind of like, wow, that person is kind of like dark energy, and so is their wealth, and
Hmm.
that has a way of perpetuating itself, and kind of again, money can create more money, and I feel like the the vibration, like the manner in which you earn and create money, like there's a frequency to that, and it's a good one or not. It can be one that's out of jealousy or envy or deceit and lies, or it can be out of virtuous things. Either way, the money has this way of multiplying itself and compounding on itself, so I think that's why it feels like that, Owen.
Mm. Yes. Isn't it a shame
Just
that not all the
one
virtue
man's
isn't
thoughts.
tied to? Isn't it a shame that virtue is not tied to profit? You kind of think. I just think about people who, for example, work in the National Health Service here. Like, most of them are severely underpaid, extremely stressed, and they're doing it not because they're earning any good money, but because they really believe in the system and in helping people and all
Yeah.
that. You know, and they're the
It's
ones who get treated the most poorly, and shoulder the most burden. Mm.
it's one thing I like to say is, if you want to know what God thinks of money, look at the people who have it and the people who don't, right? Like, um, like you say, those people who are like shouldering the most burden, good people. They're in the health service. They're trying to either better or save life,
Mm.
right? That's a very pro-human individual, someone who's probably sacrificed a lot for others and others whose names they don't even know, but like you say, get you know
Mm.
nothing. They get chicken feed,
Mhm.
um, versus somebody who it seems is like seemingly is deserving of nothing. You know, you have
Indeed.
like people. Was the guy's locked up right now? The guy who ran that big Ponzi scheme. I can't remember his name. Um, oh God, dang it! Ah, can't remember his name. But help me out here. Robert De Niro played him. Uh,
Oh, we're talking like Maxwell or whatever.
no,
Uh,
no, no. Um, it was this guy. He ran, just such a large Ponzi scheme, and he was even president of the Nasdaq at a while. Why can't I think his name? I'm having like a memory issue right now. This is crazy. Um,
mm,
anyway, yeah, I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. This is nuts. Um, he he's one of those people where it's like, wow, huh?
Bernie Madoff.
That's it. There you
There
go.
you go.
Madoff.
Fuck's
There.
sakes.
Geez,
Madoff,
sorry, man.
Madoff. Yeah, sorry.
My
No,
my
suddenly, yeah.
my brain. Yeah, what? I don't.
I don't know
God,
where the
I
fuck I
could
got
see.
Maxwell from either. My brain does that. I get complete. Yeah, doesn't matter.
I think I think you were thinking maybe of Giselle or Ghislaine or something like that. Maxwell.
Oh, sure.
Um, the the guy who definitely did not kill himself.
No, sure.
Um, like that. Yeah. I'm guessing that's where it came in.
Quite yeah.
Yeah.
There's somebody there from there. I think there's more somebody from the 80s. I can remember. But yes, yes. Well, also though, the fun thing is it doesn't work the other way necessarily.
No,
Evil
it doesn't.
doesn't necessarily get rewarded with money either. There's a lot of absolute bastards who are also poor.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's at
Definitely.
least
At
we
least
have
it's not
that.
a. At least it's not like an ironclad rule, right?
Right.
Because yeah, you're right. There are some absolute asshole bastards who, you know, happy to
So
say are
also
not. Yeah, are not
not rich.
doing good. Yeah.
So that's good. I just wanted to throw that that counterbalance in, right?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I love it. Well, I actually think that might be a good place to end it. Um,
Yep. Cool.
yeah, just end it there. End it on the assholes who do not deserve, according to you and me, do not deserve their wealth. And I would
Indeed.
say that is a good enough standard.
And the
Um,
assholes who don't have any. Hooray!
yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh man. Well, until tomorrow, I guess. Until
Yeah.
Tuesday, we'll
Indeed.
be back at it again. So for everyone who kind of stayed the course with us, if you made it this long, good for you. Appreciate you. Love you. That means you're a true, true fan. And I love you for it. And I know Owen and Dunk does too.
Sure do.
So for tomorrow, I have a good idea of what I want to kick us off with.
Oh,
But
brilliant.
yeah, I'm kicking around a couple ideas, but if you come up with something, don't let that stop you.
Okay, well,
Um,
let's chat about it. Yeah.
yeah, think we'll have a nice little menu for tomorrow. So again, anyone who was here, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And anyone who is finding us on YouTube, make sure that you send this to another friend. There's so much that they can be hearing here. Tell your mom about it, tell your uncle, tell your neighbor, everyone. Share it with everyone. Get it
Mm.
out there.
Hate mail's fine too, by the way. If
Oh,
you're an evil bastard,
totally will take it.
rich or
Yes.
otherwise, let us know. Don't
Oh,
praise or punish. We don't care.
hate
All the
mail
feedback is
is
great. Just
totally welcome
tell us
here.
how we suck, and we will
Yeah,
either
you
agree
know
with you
what?
or tell you to go fuck yourself, and then we'll either
I
change you
think
or do
we
more of it.
may I think we may make a little segment, like tell us how we suck Tuesday or something. I think we're gonna have to. Well, you know what? I haven't even shared our email. Um, take it away because I know I'll mess it up. Owen, what is our email address?
That's a great question. We have several. I'm just trying to think. I mean, I think
The
hello at the Owen and Joe Show.com.
hello, yeah. Go to hello at the Owen and Joe Show and tell us. Yeah, just tell us how much we suck. We'd love to hear it. Uh, we
Yes,
we should do
please.
that, Owen. We'll have a
Yeah,
little tell us how much we suck Wednesday reading or something. I like this segment.
100%.
So
Well, I've got a few
yeah,
ideas for a few bits and pieces, yeah, because I think it would be quite fun to add some regular things and to kind of have some more
yeah,
themed bits and bobs, and you know, yes. Well, as much as our meandering chats are good, I think actually there's going to be room in this for some planned things, and I think it'd be a nice, good bit of fun.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be a good bit of fun. All right, mate. Well, I will see you tomorrow, and until then, sleep well, my friend,
Yes, it'll
and
be a bit later tomorrow,
enjoy
won't
your
it?
night.
It'll be
Yes, it
hopefully
will.
we'll be kicking off at what was it going to be? 10 a.m. Eastern? No, Pacific, sorry.
Pacific time.
10 a.m.
That's right.
Pacific. Yeah, perfect. Right.
So,
Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow. Or, in
alrighty.
fact, in 3 seconds from now, if you're going to just roll into the next, because this always makes me fun. It makes me use the idea is 6 months or a year from now, people could be
Yeah,
listening to this, and it's just off for the
exactly.
back of and if they're liking it for some strange reason, they're just going to hear the next thing in 2 seconds from now. I used to enjoy doing that other podcast, so I like the idea
Yeah,
that
I know,
somebody might do
right?
that here once. So
So
either
right,
see you tomorrow,
like you
see you in a
said.
sec.
Or see you tomorrow, or see you in 3, 4, or 5 seconds. Either way, it's gonna be fun.
Nice. Cool.
All
Thanks.
right, take care.
Take care.
Love y'all. Bye.
Peace out, everyone.